Welcome to Indie Watch, where we check out indie titles to determine whether or not they're worth your time, but more importantly, whether or not they're worth my time. And today, we've got Asterigos. Asterigos: Curse of the Stars is an action-adventure game much in the vein of Dark Souls, developed by Acme Game Studio and published by tinyBuild. This is Acme's very first indie title published, and it's a pretty good one at that. You play as Hilda, searching for her missing father in the city of Aphis. Immediately, the gameplay is very reminiscent of Dark Souls, but once you really get into the game, the differences begin to show almost immediately. The first major difference, of course, is the leveling system. Not only can you level up your attributes, but you can also learn new talents as well. There are a wide variety of talents that you can learn for each specific weapon type that you can master. Anything from stat bumps all the way to game-changing abilities and active skills that you can use during combat. Let's talk combat. Combat is, of course, very reminiscent of Dark Souls. It's a dance of dodging, attacking, blocking, and whatever active skills you have equipped. The game is challenging but fair, much like Dark Souls itself. Of course, a lot of Dark Souls difficulty came from the mechanical complexities of those games, and this game does away with a lot of that. Instead of having multiple different weapons of the same archetype, you have 6 different weapons that are completely unique archetypes of their own. Your weapons loadout consists of 2 of these weapons equipped at the same time. You'll always have the right tools for the job. And though I said that this is nowhere near as difficult as Dark Souls, later on the game can get a little bit challenging. So what about death? Death is an intrinsic part of these sorts of games, and death is no different here. If you're not careful, death will find you swiftly. The punishment for death is much less severe here than it is in Dark Souls. For starters, you don't lose any experience when you die. However, you do lose 10% of your Stardust, which is your currency used to buy things as well as upgrade your weapons. Another major departure from your standard Souls-like games are the lack of standard healing items. Instead of respawning with a standard amount of healing items, instead you have salves that you can find throughout the world and buy. Of course, unlike most of the Soulsborne games, I haven't really found an upper limit as to how many I can carry at once. You want to bring 20 healing potions to a boss fight? You can do that. Since this is a spoiler-free review, I'm not going to talk all that much about the story. The story, in my opinion, is somewhat bare bones, but you don't really need a story to have a good setting. Rather than your typical medieval style fantasy, this is more of a Greco-Roman styled fantasy. As you progress further in the game, the influences become more and more clear, though it's not straight Greek mythology, of course. The soundtrack for this game is quite beautiful. The soundtrack is composed by renowned Taiwanese composer Zhang Weifang, renowned for such games like Detention. He's really brought his A game here, and he's collaborated with a couple of famous vocalists that are most famous in the video game space. Most notably here is Emmy Evans of Nier and Nier Automata fame. As of the writing of this review, there isn't a whole lot of soundtrack to listen to on YouTube, but trust me, it's really good. Is this game worth your time? Well, if you like the single-player aspects of Souls-like games, then I think this game is worth your time. And if you're not a fan of these types of games, well, there is good news. There's a difficulty selection screen in which you can select what difficulty you want to play on. You can play on easy, normal, or hard mode, making this one of the most accessible Souls-like games to date. And if you're still on the border of whether or not you want to play this game, you can always try the demo out. It's a fairly short demo, but you can get an idea of how the game actually plays, and if it performs well on your PC as well. Speaking of performance, and honestly, I'm surprised the Steam Deck can even run this at 40 FPS on ultra quality. If you're familiar with setting your games to 40 FPS on the Steam Deck, then this game's a great candidate for that. Of course, you can also go into your graphics settings and turn down the quality settings of the game to have it run better. After a little bit of tweaking, you can have this game run at 60 FPS. If you wish to directly support high-tech lowlife, you should check out the link in the description below for our Patreon page. And if you like this video, you should give it a thumbs up and subscribe as well. And if you want, you can also join my Discord server. As always, links in the description down below for all of this.